Lin Jing squatted beside a pile of broken garbage on the edge of the wasteland, wrapped in an old blanket full of holes. The wind blew into it, making him tremble with cold. The winter of 2275 AD was colder than any year he remembered. The sky in the wasteland was always gray, as if someone had wiped it with a dirty rag, and the sun could not pass through it. He lowered his head and flipped through a bunch of raw iron sheets and plastic, trying to find something to change food, and muttered in his mouth, "God, give me some energy, don't let me get tired again tonight." He is just over 17 this year, his body is as thin as a bamboo pole, his face is as white as a ghost, and his eyes are quite bright. Unfortunately, the light is full of helplessness in this world-breaking world. Lin Jing is a baby firewood, which is what the genetically modified elites in the city call these bottom-level people. The so-called wastewood means that one is born with genetic defects, has no qualifications to undergo transformation, has poor physical energy, and has no brain power. Living means giving elites a horse to be a cow, or simply being thrown into the wasteland to grow and reap. He knew since he was a child that he had no future and the only thing he could do was survive and not let himself die too early. This piece of wasteland is a garbage dump outside the city, and the land is full of ruins that people in the city don't want. For Lin Jing, it was just a treasure here. Occasionally, half a bottle of uncooked nutrients or damaged mechanical parts can be eaten by taking them to the black market. The air today was pretty good. He took out a small bag of compressed breasts and dried. Although it was overdue, it could at least fill the stomach. He was about to plug in, and a strange blue light caught a glimpse of the corner of his eyes, which came out from a pile of waste medical equipment. "What's the thing?" Lin Jing turned over and opened a pile of broken tubes and squids, and found a small glass bottle with half a bottle of blue liquid inside. There was an old tag on the bottle. The words were blurry, so I could only see the 3 words "for experiments." He felt a little nervous, and he said he could sell a good price. Some people on the wasteland specially collect this strange thing. No matter what it is, they will take it first. He just stuffed the bottle into his pocket, and a low engine sound came from afar, followed by a few rough shouts. "Hey, boy over there, stop." Lin Jing's heart skipped a beat. He twisted his head and saw 3 guys wearing broken protective suits running towards him, holding a stick in his hand. He believed that these people were the scavengers on the wasteland, specializing in snatching things that others received, and their methods were particularly dirty. He didn't dare to think too much, so he ran away. His thin body stumbled in the garbage dump, and the few people behind him chased him carelessly, the sound getting closer and closer. "Mom, don't run away. Hand over the things." The big block in the head roared, his voice like a wild beast. Lin Jing gritted his teeth and rushed forward desperately, but he was born with poor physical strength. He was panting like pulling a box without running too far, and his legs were so soft that he almost wanted to kneel down. Seeing the people behind him catching up, he gritted his teeth, turned into a narrow alley, hid behind a pile of waste boxes, holding his breath and daring to make a sound. The few people chased to the alley, stopped to look around, and the leading guy said, "Where did this little bastard go? I must have slapped him today." Another person snorted, "Forget it, I probably haven't gotten anything good, let's go and take a look." His footsteps were moving farther away, and Lin Jing relaxed his breath, leaning against the container and gasping for breath. His heart sank in his heart. He looked down at the glass bottle inside, and the blue liquid looked a little strange in the dim light. He was a little hesitant. Whether to throw this thing away is not worth it. But when you think about it, this may be an opportunity to turn things around. If you sell a good price, you can live a few more days. He gritted his teeth and decided to take it back and ask a trusted black market businessman. As night fell, the temperature of the waste soil became lower. Lin Jing wrapped the broken blanket on his body and returned to his temporary trunk. A deserted sewer entrance, and a simple shed was built with rags and paperboards. He lit a small pile of garbage to keep warm with the fire, took out the compressed milk he had been squeezing during the day, took a bite, and it was as dry as a stone, almost breaking his teeth. He grinned and muttered, "I really don't live as good as a dog in this day." While eating, he suddenly heard a slight sound of footsteps coming from outside, as if someone was approaching. He felt nervous and rushed to the fire, shrunk in the corner and dared not move. The sound of his footsteps became closer and closer, and then a low female voice sounded, "Don't hide, I know you are there." Lin Jing was stunned. This sound did not sound like a scavenger, but was a little cold, like the tall elites in the city. He poked his head out and saw a woman in a long black dress standing at the sewer entrance with a half-metal mask on her face. The exposed half of her face was as cold as ice, and there was no emotion in her eyes. Lin Jing sallied and asked in a low voice, "Who are you? Why are you looking for me?" The woman didn't answer, but just glanced at him coldly, and then said, "Take the things you picked today." Lin Jing was shocked and immediately realized that what she was talking about was the bottle of blue liquid. He subconsciously covered his pockets and put his mouth silly, "What's the matter? I haven't picked anything." "Don't put it on." The woman's voice became even colder. She took a step forward and felt a sense of pressure that made people breathless. "You can't touch that bottle of medicine. If you hand it over, I won't make you difficult." Lin Jing turned his brain quickly, knowing that this woman was not easy to mess with, but he finally got the bottle of things. "If you hand it over, it would be a waste of time." He gritted his teeth and said, "I really don't know what you are saying, why don't you search?" The woman seemed to have no patience to stop talking anymore. She raised her hand and a long electric blade suddenly popped out from her wrist. The cold light flashed, and Lin Jing almost screamed. He hurriedly held his hand. "Don't you, it's okay to say it. I'll hand it over, can I hand it over?" He trembled and took out the glass bottle from his pocket, passed it over, and blood dripped in his heart. But at this moment, an accident happened. The moment the woman reached out to pick up the bottle, Lin Jing shook her hand. The bottle fell directly to the ground without holding it. The glass shattered, and the blue liquid swelled all over the ground, and part of it sprayed on Lin Jing's arm. He was stunned for a moment, and immediately felt a stinging pain in his arm, as if he was burned by fire. The pain made him kneel directly on the ground, gritting his teeth and growling, "What the hell is this?" The woman's face changed. She lowered her voice and quickly squatted down to check Lin Jing's arm. There was a complicated emotion in her eyes, and she murmured, "Don't die, I'm still one step late." Lin Jing was sweating heavily in pain, and reluctantly said, Do you know what this is? Save me." The woman ignored him and just took out a small syringe from her clothes, which was decorated with transparent liquid. Without saying anything, she pierced Lin Jing's neck directly, and Bing Wei's medicine was injected into her body. Lin Jing felt dizzy and her mind began to blur. At the last glance, he saw the woman's cold face, and a sentence she said in a low voice, "I hope you can survive and experience it." When he woke up again, Lin Jing found that he was lying in a strange room, surrounded by cold metal walls, and the smell of disinfectant water was scented in the air. He tried to sit up and found that his whole body seemed to be crushed by a car, which was so sore, especially on his left arm, some small pieces of the skin, which were hard, like the shell of some kind of reptile animal. He almost screamed, and his brain was full of trouble. What is going on? Am I a monster? The door suddenly opened, and the woman wearing a mask walked in, still with that cold expression. She looked at Lin Xiao and said calmly, "Awaken? Congratulations, you're not dead." Lin Xiao glared at her and came without a fight. "Who are you? What kind of blue thing is that? Why does this kind of ghost thing grow on me?" The woman did not rush to answer, but walked to the operating table beside her, knocked on a few virtual keyboards, and a light screen floated out, showing a bunch of complicated data and charts. Then she turned over and said lightly, "My name is Ruanli, a genetic scientist. As for your changes, you are simply injected with an experimental genetic modification drug. That drug was not used for you like this, but it is not meaningful to say these." Lin Jing was stunned for a moment, and he reluctantly digested it, and asked, "Renovation medicine? Isn't that something that only the elites in the city have? Why does it appear in the garbage dump? Also, what do you mean by saying I'm not using waste wood? Will I die?" Ruanli glanced at him, and there was a hint of excitement in her eyes. It's hard to say if you die or not. That drug is a product of taboo experiments. The original purpose was to create a perfect human that surpassed the elite, but the side effects were too great, and 99% of the experiments collapsed. It's already considered that you can survive until now. As for why the garbage dump appears, it's because someone wants to destroy it, but it certainly didn't succeed. Lin Jing felt a little tired when he heard it. He lowered his head and looked at the film on his arm, touched his heart, which was jumping fast, and always felt that there was nothing wrong with him. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Then what should I do now? Will this turn me into a monster?" Ruanli did not answer directly, but walked up to him and passed a glass of water, and her temperament was still cold. "Drink it, replenish some energy. In the next few days, your body will continue to change, which may be a stronger strength or a worse change. I will help you control it, but only if you have to hear me." Lin Jing took the water cup, and his hands were still shaking. He was unwilling to do anything in his heart, but in this situation, he seemed to have no choice. He took a sip of water and said with a wry smile, "Okay, my life is not worth much anyway, I will lose it if you lose it. But I have to ask, what are you going to help me? I don't believe that there will be a bun in heaven." Ruanli's eyes flashed, as if she was wondering whether to speak. Finally, she just said coldly, "You don't need to know my purpose. Just remember and survive, it will be good for you and me." After saying that, she turned away, leaving Lin Jing alone sitting on the bed, her brain full of questions. In the next few days, Lin Jing had a personal experience of what human earthly corpses was called. His body seemed to be no longer self-reliant, and there were new changes every day. Sometimes the pieces on his arms spread to his shoulders, and sometimes his vision suddenly became particularly sensitive and could see things a few hundred meters away, but what followed was the intense head pain and muscle swelling, which made him swell with pain. Ruanli would inject some medicines to relieve his symptoms every day, but her attitude was as cold as ice, and she didn't even have any words of comfort. That night, Lin Qing was lying on the bed, staring at the ceiling, and a thought suddenly popped up in his brain: if this continues, he really may become a monster, and even forget who he is. He gritted his teeth and decided not to sit and wait. At least he had to figure out what Ruanli wanted to fuck in the truth about this genetic modification. He secretly got up and slipped to the door of the experiment room. He heard the sound of Ruanli coming from it, as if he was talking to whom. Yes, the experiment is still alive, and the evolution process exceeded expectations. No, I don't think he is a threat, at least not now. The perfect sequence thread may be on him, and we must continue to observe. Lin Jing was shocked when he heard this. What is the perfect sequence? Why does it have something to do with yourself? He was about to listen again, but accidentally kicked a piece of metal fragment under his feet, making a sound of crispness. The sound inside stopped abruptly, followed by a rapid pace. Lin Qing cried out in secret and wanted to run away when she turned around, but the door had been pushed open, and Ruanli's cold gaze locked him. "How much have you heard?" Her voice was shockingly low, and she was holding an electric blade in her hand. Lin Jing was so stupid that he said, "Just. I heard a little bit, I didn't understand what sequence or something." Ruanli stared at him for a few seconds, finally put away the blade and snorted coldly, "Go back to sleep, don't worry about things, otherwise I don't guarantee that you can live until tomorrow." Lin Qing returned to the bed in shame, and a fire seemed to ignite in her heart. He knew that his fate had been completely changed. Whether it was genetic modification or Ruanli's secret, he had to figure it out, otherwise what was waiting for him might be more despair than death. At the same time, on the other side of the wasteland, a tall figure stood on the edge of the broken city, wearing exquisite fighting armor, and his eyes were as cold as a knife. He lowered his head and looked at the light screen in his hand, which showed Lin Jing's image, and a disdainful smile came out from the corner of his mouth. "Wan Chai dares to touch contraindicated medicines? Garo takes action, see if you can jump for a few days." Lin Jing lay on the cold bed, her heart felt like she was being numbed in a group, and she couldn't even figure it out. He just secretly heard what perfect sequence Ruanli mentioned. Although he didn't know what the specifics were, he just told him that this thing could not be affected by the changes in his body. The sky outside the window was still as dead as it was, and occasionally a few monsters' growls came from afar, making people creepy. He turned around, and the flakes on his arm rubbed against the bed, making a slight rustling sound, reminding him that he was no longer the waste boy. The door suddenly opened, and Wanli walked in, still in the black dress, half a metal mask covering her face. Her eyes were so cold that it could keep people away. She walked to the bed with a small bottle of medicine in her hand. Her temperament was as dull as if she was chatting. "Get up, I'm going to be injected. Today the dosage is worse, and it may feel a little uncomfortable, so bear it." Lin Jing sat up and smiled bitterly. "Don't feel comfortable? Sister, what day have I been comfortable these days? Every time I finish the bell, it's like being crushed by a car. Can't you give me some gentleness?" He said this, and his hands were still stretched out. Wanli ignored his comments and pierced his arm skillfully. The ice-cold liquid was injected into his body. Lin Jing gritted his teeth and felt a fire-like pain swelling from his arms to his whole body, and cold sweat suddenly appeared on the head. "What is this medicine? It hurts so much every time I get it. It can make me strong. Wouldn't you use me as a guinea pig for a test medicine?" Lin Jing gasped and saw something from Wanli's face. Unfortunately, the mask was covered with seriousness and could not see any expression. Wanli put away the syringe and glanced at him coldly. "Want to know? Then survive first. Your genetic evolution is not stable and may collapse at any time. Now I have no idea about these unintentional questions." She decided to do it and reiterated, "Starting today, I will teach you how to control these changes. The wasteland is not a charity hall. No one will help you in vain. If you want to survive, you have to learn and stand up." Lin Jing's heart was moved. Although Wanli was as cold as a block of ice, she heard this as if she was helping herself. He pointed, gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, teach me. I have no other way to go now. But I have to ask first, who is the guy named Garo outside? I heard that he seems to be looking for me." Wanli's eyes flashed, as if they were touched by some sensitive point. She was silent for a few seconds before she said in a low voice, "Garo is the sanctioned performer of genetic modification, a perfect product that specializes in cleaning up failed like you. He looked for you because you touched something you shouldn't touch. Remember, don't let him find you, otherwise I can't save you." Lin Jing felt her hair oozing in her heart, and the light screen of the tall figure appeared in her brain, and there was a disdainful sneer. He swallowed and reluctantly squeezed. "Then what should I do now? Do you hide?" "I can't hide," Wanli said bluntly. "The wasteland is so big, and there are some ways to find you. The only way out is to become stronger, so strong that it can fight against him. Starting today, you will train with me and learn to use your ability to evolve. At least, don't die too quickly." In the next few days, Lin Jing's life finally turned into a terrain model. Wanli's training was not something that humans could bear. Every morning, he dragged him to a ruined open space next to the underground laboratory. He ran around and his legs were almost broken, and then his strength test made him move a bunch of broken iron blocks until the pieces on his arm began to suck blood. What was most distant was that she would suddenly attack him with an electric blade and force him to avoid it, saying that it was to exert his reaction speed. Lin Jing was beaten up with a lot of times and was so painful that he was so sad that Wanli didn't even look at her eyebrows, but she just said coldly, "Come again." However, the training effect is quite obvious. After several days of life, Lin Jing found that his strength was several times greater than before. He could lift hundreds of kilograms of heavy objects with his hands. His vision and hearing became extremely sensitive, and he could even hear the roar of monsters from the wasteland several hundred meters away. Although the tablet on the arm looks strange, it is as hard as the steel plate, leaving only a white mark when the electric blade is cut. However, the side effects of evolution did not torture him less. Sometimes his head hurts as if he was about to explode. Sometimes his muscles twitched uncontrollably, so he could only curl up on the ground and wait for him to come. At the end of the training this day, Lin Jing sat on the edge of the ruins and gasped, covered in sweat, and his clothes were torn like rags. He wiped his face and couldn't help asking wanly, "What's going on with my body? Why do you look like Superman when you look like you, and then you look like you're going to hang up?" Wanli leaned against a broken wall, playing with the blade in her hand. Her language was still so cold. Gene evolution is not a process that can be achieved overnight. Your sequence is unstable, and evolution will be randomly touched, which is good and bad. Strength, speed, and perception are positive effects, but changes and loss of control are side effects. The medicine I give you can only be relieved, not cured. Then what can I do to control it thoroughly? Lin Jing asked. He didn't want to live in this state where he might collapse at any time. Ruanli glanced at him, and a complex emotion flashed in her eyes, as if she wanted to say it. Finally, she just said lightly, "The key to control may be related to the perfect sequence. But this is not something you should worry about now. Learn to live first." It's the perfect sequence again. Lin Jing's heart skipped a beat. Although Ruanli didn't say it clearly, he thought that this thing was the root of all the changes in him. He was about to ask again, when a low engine sound suddenly came from a distance, followed by a few rough shouts, breaking the silence of the ruins. Lin Jing's ears moved, and immediately stood up and said in a low voice, "Someone has come, and it doesn't sound like a good person." Ruanli's face also darkened. She quickly put away her blade and said in a low voice, "Hide and don't make any noise." The two of them quickly squatted behind a piece of scrap cement board and held their breath. The engine sounded closer and closer, and then several guys wearing broken protective suits appeared in the field, holding a rough weapon in their hands and sneering in their mouths. "Mom, is there really a laboratory in this broken place? The boss said that if you found that wasteland boy, we can pay for it again, we can do it in vain." Lin Jing felt nervous. These people were obviously from him, and they were probably from the Garos. He glanced at Ruanli, and saw her eyes as cold as a knife, and obviously he didn't plan to sit and wait. He asked in a low voice, "What should I do? Fight or run?" "Run." Ruanli said without hesitation, "You are not their opponent now, you are just seeking death. Follow me." After saying that, she cated her waist and carried Lin Jing over from the other end of the ruins, moving as fast as a shadow. Lin Jing followed behind, his heart beat like a drum. He accidentally stepped on a piece of gravel under his feet, making a sound of crispness. "Who is there?" one of the guys yelled, and several people immediately rushed over here, with the weapons in their hands still sparking. Lin Jing secretly stubbornly, gritted her teeth and ran with Ruanli. The two walked through a broken iron rack and rushed into a narrow alley, but the pursuers behind were faster and soon narrowed the distance. "Stop! Run again, I will break you!" The big block in the head roared, and the gun in his hand had already aimed at Lin Jing. Ruanli suddenly stopped walking and turned around and said coldly, "You go first, I'll take it for a while. Run eastwards, there is a deserted sewer entrance, and hide in and wait for me." Lin Jing was stunned and didn't want to let her go, but Ruanli's eyes were unquestionable. He could only grit his teeth and turn around and continue running. The sound of the electric blade and the gun colliding soon came from behind, and there were a few more shouts, which seemed to Ruanli to take action without any mercy. He rushed towards the east without looking back, and finally found the entrance to the sewer, and then squatted in the darkness, gasping heavily. It took not long after, the sound of his footsteps came from outside. Lin Jing felt nervous, thinking it was a pursuer, but then he heard Ruanli's voice, "Come out, it's a solution." He poked out his head and saw Ruanli standing at the entrance, with some blood on her shirt, and her face was still so cold, but she didn't seem to be injured. He relaxed his voice and crawled out and asked, "How are you?" "Those people." "Diet." Ruanli cut him off, his temperament as if he was talking about eating, "But this is just the beginning. There are more and more people in Garo, and we can't stay here for too long. Pack up and prepare to leave." "Where to go?" Lin Jing followed her back and asked. "The soil is deep." Ruanli said without looking back, "There is an old friend there who can help us hide for a while and can help you to relieve the side effects of evolution. but if the road is not close, you may encounter monsters on the way, so you'd better prepare yourself. Lin Jing points ahead, and there is a little bit of light in his heart. The soil is deep, it is a ghost place that even the scavengers dare not go easily. I heard that it was all monsters with failed genetic modification, which was more difficult to deal with than the elites in the city. However, in this situation, he had no choice but to stick to his head. After returning to the experiment room, Ruanli simply packed up some medicines and equipment, stuffed them into an old backpack, and sent Lin Jing a small electric rod, which was said to be self-defense. The two took advantage of the night to break out, through the ruins and garbage dumps, and digging deep into the wasteland. The wasteland at night is more terrifying than during the day. There is a rotting smell in the air, and the monsters are roaring everywhere, which makes people's heads numb. After walking for the middle of the night, Lin Qing's legs were almost numb, and she finally couldn't help asking, "Who is your friend? Do you trust me? Don't be a pit again at that time." Ruanli glanced at him, and her language was filled with a rare gentleness. She was called Xiao Wei, and she was a mechanical genius I knew in the wasteland. She had never received genetic modification, but she was first class in her hand and could repair any damage. She had helped me a lot, and she would help you this time. Little wife? Lin Jing was stunned, and a blurry shadow suddenly appeared in his brain. Why does this name sound so familiar? It seems that when I was playing in the wasteland when I was a child, a little girl always followed him, shouting Brother Jing in her mouth, and always holding a bunch of broken copper wires and saying that she wanted to build a robot. He slammed his head and thought it must be a coincidence. The wasteland is so big, so there is no such a coincidence. Just as I was thinking, a low roar suddenly came from the front, as if it was from some large creature. Ruanli immediately stopped and made a gesture of silence. The two of them squatted behind a pile of abandoned car shells. Lin Jing looked at the head and saw a huge figure walking slowly in the mist from the distance. He was more than 3 meters tall, his body was covered with deformed bone spurs, his claws were as sharp as a knife, and his eyes were red. It was obviously a monster that failed to genetically modified. How to fight this thing? Lin Jing asked in a low voice, and his voice was trembling. Although he has trained a lot in the past few days, he still has no confidence in this monster. I can't beat it, so I'll go over. Ruanli said in a low voice, its perception range is not large. As long as we don't surprise it, we can avoid it. After speaking, she slowly moved with Lin Jing, walked a long circle with the monster, and finally threw it away. Lin Jing relaxed her breath and wiped her cold sweat, thinking that the deep soil was indeed not a place for people to stay. The next journey was no longer a mess. 2 days later, they finally arrived at a broken industrial area, with collapsed factories and scalloped machinery. Ruanli took Lin Jing to an underground car hiding under the ruins, knocked on the iron door a few times, and a crisp female voice came from it. Who? Report a name, don't let me open the door in vain. Xiao Feng, it's me, Ruanli. Ruanli said calmly. The door squeaked and a girl in a ragged dress poked out her head. Her hair was wobbly and turned into a horsetail, her face was stained with oil, and she was holding a wrench in her hand. When she saw Ruanli, she smiled first, then the video fell on Lin Jing's body, her eyes suddenly widened, and she was shocked. Brother Jing? It's really you? Lin Jing was also stunned, and the vague shadow in his brain became clear in an instant. He looked at the girl in front of him. Although he had grown a lot, his shiny eyes were exactly the same as when he was a child. He grinned and couldn't help but say, Xiao Feng, it's really you. I thought I had heard the wrong name. Xiao Feng threw down the wrench excitedly, ran over and hugged Lin Jing, so strong that he almost stood up. She smiled and said, You guys have not seen them for many years. I thought you had been hanging a long time ago. How did it become this kind of thing? What is this on your arm? A movie? Lin Jing smiled bitterly and patted her on the back, saying, It's hard to say it, it's a long time. Why do you know Ruanli? You still open a car in this ghost place? Xiao Feng opened his hand and said, I have been scrambling to waste for the past few years and have lived through life by repairing things. Sister Wanli used to help me, so I owe her a favor. So, she said that she had a friend who needed help, so I guess what might be a nuisance. I didn't expect it was you. Wanli coldly interrupted their greetings. Let's go in and say, it's not safe outside. The three of them walked into the underground car park, with various mechanical parts and tools piled up inside. There were still several modified wasteland cars parked in the corner of the wall, which looked quite sassy. Xiao Feng closed the door and turned around and asked Wanli, Sister, what's going on? Why did Brother Jing get along with you? And his arm is not normal at all. Wanli Xian briefly explained Lin Jing's situation, and when talking about the side effects of genetic modification and evolution, Xiao Feng's face became increasingly severe. After listening, she sniffed her eyebrows and said, This is puzzling. I have heard the side effects of evolution. Many people on the wasteland have become monsters because of this. Brother Jing, what do you feel now? Are there any signs of losing control? Lin Jing shook his head and said, It's good now, it's just that he occasionally has a headache and muscle twitching. Wanli gave me a pinch, which can relieve it. Xiao Wu pointed at the head and said to Wanli, Sister, I have an old equipment here that can monitor the stability of the gene sequence, and I may be able to help. But I have to repair it first, and it will take 2 days. You should rest first, don't run around, there are many monsters nearby. Wanli nodded and agreed. Lin Jing found a corner and sat down. Seeing Xiao Feng busy pounding and beating, a long-lasting warmth suddenly surged in his heart. Although the wasteland is so cruel, at least there are old friends like Xiao Wei, which makes him feel that he is not alone. It was late at night, and the car warehouse was calm, leaving only the sound of Xiao Wei repair equipment. Lin Jing closed her eyes against the wall, and her brain was full of perfect sequence and the shadow of Garo. He knew that this short peaceful evening would not last for too long, and what awaited him next might be a bigger storm. He clenched his fists tightly, and the slim glittered on his arm, as if reminding him that the path of evolution was still long. Lin Jing leaned against the broken iron rack in the underground car, closed her eyes and pretended to sleep. Her brain looked like a group of numbness, and she couldn't even calm down. The depth of the wasteland at night was colder than he thought, and the air was filled with a strange smell of iron and motor oil. Occasionally, there were a few low roars coming from far away, making people's skin numb. Xiao Wei was still knocking and beating in the corner, repairing the old genetic monitoring equipment, and the sound of the collision between the wrench and the metal was reverberating in the car warehouse, which was particularly harsh. Wanli sat far away, leaning against the dead body of a wasteland car, playing with the blade in her hands, her eyes as cold as ice, as if she was preparing for something sudden to happen at any time. Lin Jing opened his eyes quietly, glanced at the flake on his arm, and a strange light shone under the dim light. He felt a little nervous. Although he had been relying on Wanli's medicine and training for several days, the feeling that he might lose control at any time was still following him like a shadow. He murmured in a low voice, When will this broken body give us happiness? If it becomes stronger, it will be so hungry. Don't be so hungry. Xiao Wei heard the silence, raised her head, wiped the oil on her face, and grinned, Brother Qing, why haven't you been sleeping yet? Don't always think about those messy things. After the equipment is repaired, I will help you to test it. I may find a way to stabilize your genetic sequence. Her voice was still so pleasant, like a broken life in the wasteland has never crushed her. Lin Jing reluctantly smiled and said, Okay, it's up to you. But how do I think this is not that simple? Wanli mentioned the perfect sequence, and I always think this thing is the key. He said, glanced at Wanli, wanting to see what her reaction was. The electric blade in Wanli stopped for a moment, her eyes flashed, but soon became cold again. She said in a low voice, Don't ask more. You know too much now. When you can survive Garo's pursuit, worry about these. Her temperament was still so hard, but Lin Jing could hear that she was deliberately ignoring something. He didn't ask anymore, but he was even more stubborn. The name Garo was like a thorn, piercing his brain, and it also had a perfect sequence, which was not a good thing to hear. He rubbed his son's hole and tried to relax his eyes, but just closed his eyes and a deep engine sound suddenly came outside the car, breaking the silence of the night. Ruanli stood up in an instant, holding the electric blade in her hand, her eyes as sharp as a knife. Xiaowei also stopped the work in her hand, grabbed the self-made gun beside her, and said in a low voice, "This sound is not right. No one will drive over when the soil is deep. It is probably because of the slightest trouble." Lin Qing felt nervous, and hurriedly got up, hid behind the iron rack, and looked out. In the smoke outside the cart, several strong lights pierced the darkness, accompanied by the engine's rush, several modified wasteland cars parked far away. A group of people wearing fighting armor came up and down the car, holding high-tech weapons in their hands, and their aura was obviously not an ordinary scavenger. The figure on the head was particularly tall, with a cold light on his armor, and a pair of cold eyes were exposed under his helmet. It was Garo. Lin Jing's heart beats like a drum, clenching his fists, and the pieces on his arms are unconsciously hard, as if they are preparing for a fight instinctively. He asked Ruanli in a low voice, "What should I do? This guy is really coming. Should we run or hit me?" Ruanli glanced at him coldly and said in a low voice, "I can't run away. There is only one way to get in and out of this place, and they are blocked. They can only fight hard. You and Xiaowei guard the cart, and I will drag Garo." Her temperament was beyond doubt. After she said that, she slipped out of the cart with her waist and disappeared into the darkness. Xiao Feng gritted his teeth and urged Lin Jing, "Brother Jing, we have to keep this place and don't let them come in. I have a few self-made electromagnetic traps here that can drag a little time, so you can help me set it up." Lin Jing was a little bit too nervous, but he didn't choose any other way now. He followed Xiaowei to bury several traps near the entrance of the cart, then hid behind a pile of waste irons, held his electric rod that Ruanli gave him, and held his breath. The sound of fighting came soon outside, and the sound of the collision between the blade and the armor mixed and roared, and it seemed that Ruanli had already fought with Garo. Lin Jing looked at the head and saw Ruanli's figure moving quickly in the mist. The blade drew cold lights, but Garo was faster, and he could easily slap her attack almost every time, and even counterattacked. His power was so great that he smashed the iron frame next to him with one punch. "This guy is too strong." Lin Jing swallowed, his heart pounding. He knew that he was going up now to deliver vegetables, but seeing Ruanli being beaten up, he felt anger in his heart again. As the conversation was over, a loud noise suddenly came from the entrance of the car warehouse. Several Garo subordinates had already been blocked, and they obviously wanted to encircle them. "Brother Jing, be careful." Xiao Feng shouted, and pressed the controller in his hand, and the electromagnetic trap buried in the entrance was instantly activated. Several arcs were drawn out, directly twitching the two guys in full swing. But the remaining few people reacted quickly spread out, lifted their weapons and shot them into the bin, and the slammed on the iron rack and sparked 4 times. Lin Jing gritted her teeth and avoided a wave of attacks. She felt that the blood in her body was boiling. The slime on her arms began to spread, and even her shoulders covered with a hard shell. He knew that this was the development of evolutionary ability, and although it might bring side effects, it could not be considered that much now. He growled, pulled out his cover, slammed the rod and smashed the nearest gang, so powerful that he directly smashed the other party and hit the wall and couldn't move. "Brother Jing, it's awesome!" Xiao Feng shouted, his eyes filled with surprise. But Lin Jing didn't have time to be proud, and the pain in his head quickly came, and the visual line became blurred. He gritted his teeth and continued to chat with those people. The battle in the car warehouse became more and more intense, and Xiao Feng's trap was almost used, and a number of people on the other side gradually appeared, and the two were forced to retreat during the day. At this moment, a huge sound came from the outside of the car warehouse, as if something was blown up. Lin Jing twisted his head and saw that in the smoke, Garo punched the ground. The huge shock wave directly shocked Ruanli. She hit a pile of waste irons, and blood was overflowing from the corners of her mouth, which seemed to be unharmed. Garo sneered, his voice as low as a wild beast, "Ruanli, where's your experience? I will give you a happy time after it is handed over." Ruanli wiped his blood, stood up reluctantly, and said coldly, "Garo, do you really think that the perfect sequence is your bag? Stop dreaming, it never belongs to the ruling level." Her words changed Garo's eyes, as if they were poked into the pain. He growled and rushed towards Ruanli again, so fast that it was almost impossible to see clearly. Lin Qing was anxious and knew that he would not help him anymore. Ruanli might not be able to stop him. He turned to Xiao Wei, "You keep here, I'll help her." Without waiting for Xiao Wei to object, he had already rushed out of the car and ran towards Garo. The pain in his head became stronger and stronger, and the muscles in his body were twitching, but he gritted his teeth and felt a force in his body rushing wildly, as if he was about to explode at any time. "Hey, Wu Chai, are you looking for death?" Garo noticed Lin Jing, his eyes under his helmet flashed with disdain. With a blow, a strong air directly overturned Lin Qing, and fell to the ground so painful that he couldn't straighten his waist. But Lin Jing did not retreat. He got up and roared at Garo. The piece on his arm suddenly stormed, and half of his face covered a hard shell, which was several times stronger than before. He hit Garo's armor with a punch, which actually made the other party take a step back. Garo was stunned for a moment and sneered, "It's a bit interesting. It seems that the medicine is not paid for in vain on you. However, the waste is ultimately the waste, so let me lie down." He accelerated suddenly and punched Lin Jing's chest, as powerful as a carriage. Lin Jing couldn't hide at all. He was smashed for more than 10 meters and hit the pile of wastelands. He felt that his 5 internal organs had moved, and he felt sweet in his mouth and vomited a mouthful of blood. "Brother Jing!" Xiao Feng's voice came from the car warehouse, with a crying voice. Ruanli also stood up and looked at Lin Jing with a complex look, as if she had never expected that he could explode such power. Lin Jing was panting, his brain was in chaos, his vision became more and more blurred, but there was a womb in his heart that he was not convinced. He gritted his teeth and stood up, feeling that the power in his body was not at its limit, as if there was something else that had not been awakened. "Can you still stand up?" "Okay, I want to see how long you can hold." Garo snorted coldly and walked slowly, with a suffocating pressure on each step. Lin Jing knew that if he didn't fight, he might have no chance. He closed his eyes and tried to concentrate, feeling the violent power in his body becoming stronger and stronger. The slim on his arm began to glow, and his pupils turned into a strange golden color. The next second, he suddenly opened his eyes and growled, and the whole person seemed to have turned into a shadow, so fast that the naked eye could hardly keep up. He directly rushed to Garo and punched the other party's helmet. Garo didn't expect that he would suddenly explode and get hit, and a crack appeared on his helmet. He roared angrily, grabbed Lin Jing's arm with his backhand, threw him hard, and threw him to the ground, then stepped on him, with the force so strong that the ground was cracked. Lin Jing was so painful that he almost lost his mind, but the power inside his body was still storming, as if he couldn't hold it down no matter what. He gritted his teeth and grabbed Garo's ankle, and with all his strength, he actually overturned the other party to the ground. The moment Garo fell, Ruanli grabbed the opportunity, and the electric blade pierced his armor gap, making a harsh friction sound. Garo was in pain and roared and took a few steps back. "Wan Chai, do you really think you can win?" Garo gasped, his eyes under his helmet became even more crazy. He suddenly pressed a button on the armor, and a strong current burst out from his body. The shock wave directly shocked Lin Jing and Ruanli, and even the warehouse where Xiao Feng was located was affected, and the iron frame collapsed. Lin Jing fell to the ground, feeling that his whole body was falling apart. The side effects of evolution suddenly exploded at this time. His head hurt so much that it was about to explode, and his visual line was full of ghosts. He reluctantly looked at the past, and Garo had already stood up, the current on the armor was still flashing, and it was obvious that he was preparing for the last blow. Ruanli was also seriously injured, and the electric blade fell to the ground, barely supporting her body with the iron. "Brother Jing, run, we can't beat." Xiao Feng's voice came from the car warehouse, with helplessness and hope. Lin Qing felt ache in her heart. She knew that what she was saying was true, but he was unwilling to give up. He gritted his teeth and suddenly a thought flashed through his brain: perfect sequence. Ruanli said that this thing may be the key to controlling evolution. Although he didn't know what it was, he just told him that he could only make a fortune now. He growled, focused all his energy, and tried to awaken the deepest power in his body. Suddenly, he felt his whole body as if it was torn and reorganized. The film covered the entire upper body, and spikes emerged from behind, and his power surged to a terrifying level, but at the same time, his mind began to blur, as if he would be swallowed by violent instincts at any time. "Garo, come!" He roared and rushed. His speed and strength reached a new limit. Even Garo did not react and was smashed by him, and his armor directly shattered a large piece. Garo fell to the ground, his helmet fell, revealing a cold face, and finally a shock in his eyes. "This is the power of the perfect sequence? How could it be on you?" Lin Jing ignored him and continued to attack. Each strike brought the power of destruction, hitting Garo without any strength. But his own consciousness became increasingly blurred, his brain was full of killing and almost forgot who he was. Ruanli looked at this scene with a messy look and said in a low voice, "Lin Jing, stop. If you continue, you will completely lose control." Her voice seemed to be the last straw. Lin Jing reluctantly calmed down, stopped attacking, turned to look at Garo, panting and said, "Chang, don't come to me again, otherwise I will kill you next time." Garo snorted coldly, stood up with his wound, glared at him fiercely, and retreated with the rest of the people. The sound of the engine quickly disappeared into the smoke. Lin Jing relaxed his breath, but the next second, the strength in his body seemed to be exhausted. The slab began to drop, and the drama was in pain. He knelt directly on the ground, his mind almost breaking. Xiao Feng and Ruanli hurriedly ran over to support him, and Xiao Feng's eyes were full of ginger. "Brother Jing, what are you doing? Don't scare me." Ruanli checked his condition and said, "The evolution overdraft is overdraft, and his genetic sequence is almost limiting. It must be stable immediately, otherwise he may never come back." She took out an emergency medicine from her backpack and pierced it into Lin Jing's neck. Bingliang's liquid made him feel a little clear-headed, but his whole body still hurt like he was torn to pieces. A few days later, Lin Jing finally woke up from a coma and found that he was lying on a broken bed in the cart. His body was covered with belts, and the pieces on his arms were mostly missing, but he could still feel the power in his body sleeping. Xiao Wei sat next to him and saw him awake. He relaxed his voice, "Brother Jing, you are almost awake. I'm almost dying of anxiety these days." Lin Jing smiled hard and asked, "Where's Ruanli? What's wrong?" "She's fine, she's staying outside," Xiao Feng said, passing a glass of water, "but she said that your evolution has reached a point of boundary, and it may be even more dangerous next. Although Garo retreated, the ruling level will not let you go, and there is also the secret of the perfect sequence." Lin Jing took a sip of water and his eyes sank. He knew that the battle was just the beginning and the storm on the wasteland was never over. He clenched his fist and said in a low voice, "No matter what sequence or not, I only know that I can't be a waste of firewood anymore. Whether it's the straight or the Garo, come and fuck one." Xiao Feng looked at him with a little admiration in his eyes and said, "Brother Jing, I will be with you no matter what. We should have our own way of living." Lin Jing grinned, and a warm feeling surged in his heart. Although the road ahead was still full of confusion, he knew that at least now, he was not alone. Outside the window, the sky in the wasteland was still gray, but there seemed to be a glimmer of light from afar, like the first bright color before the break. Lin Jing looked at the light, took a deep breath, and was ready to face the bigger challenge.